Today has been a revelation in Glamour Magic, in undoing gray days, in everything that I have learned, crafted, compiled, manifested. And I wanted to share it with you. Let me set the scene. I woke up feeling incredibly blah, like you're wading through molasses. I can attribute it logically to my carb overload. About 3 or 4 days ago, I had a Chinese food indulgence. I love disciplined indulgences. That's how I retain my sylph-like figure. But sometimes disciplined indulgences can turn into kind of a biochemical self-sabotage. My intolerance for carbohydrates shows up as not a depressive episode, but definitely a gray day. My mood dip is palpable. And it was thanks to some other carbohydrate and gluten intolerant friends, I realized this was a pattern for me. So today, when I dressed, I chose gray clothing. I literally only have 2 or 3 pieces of gray in my wardrobe. And it was fascinating in hindsight to notice that I chose them. I put on my gray palazzo pants. I love the style. But these are incredibly worn, as you can see. There's even a pin in the waistband because I need to take them in. They felt like how I felt, worn, settled, gray. I topped that off with a long sleeve gray t-shirt. I had decided not to wear any makeup. So if I were directing this particular scene in the grand production of my life, this would have been a costume of resignation, of settling, of blah. But I did move forward into the kitchen to do my coffee ritual. My coffee ritual involves a vintage French press, a particularly beautiful gold canister with my favorite Sumatra coffee in it, and a gold spoon. I have a little ritual where I warm up the French press and I spoon the coffee in, and this is my CEO juice, right? It is magic because when you think about it, you're taking beans and you're grinding them up and you're making a potion that rearranges your mood. This is magic. I always have a moment where I pour a small amount of hot water into the coffee grounds first with my gooseneck kettle, which I adore. I inhale the aroma. I am deeply thankful for the years I spent at Starbucks as a barista that gave me knowing about coffee, but also that I don't have to do that anymore. I became who I longed to become when I was a barista working for $8 an hour. There is a blog post, How I Became a Goddess Working for Starbucks, and I will post the link below. It's my backstory. And the coffee ritual always reminds me just how far I've come. The next thing I did was decide, and I'm sharing all this in hindsight because I was just doing it as I moved through my morning. It's only in hindsight that I realized this is glamour magic at work. I changed my environment. I have been spending the past couple of days on the couch watching the US Open. Yes, I've been working some, but my brain is going, yeah, you're not in CEO mode when you're on the couch. I do believe I can be effective and work while I've got one eye on the tennis. However, I decided this morning, as an antidote, I would shift my environment. So I came into my office and lit my coaching candle, which I usually light for my clients. And my spellcast, when I light it, is, may I be the light by which they see themselves. This morning I lit it and I said, may I be the light by which I see myself clearly. It is a beautiful candle and the scent elevates me. As I did that, I realized the effect my costume was having on me. I sat down and journaled for a while to document how I was feeling, to give these sensations a voice and an acknowledgement. And in that moment, I decided to shift identities. I was going to change how I see myself so that how I am changes. And I decided to change costumes. Often the easiest for me, as it happened, serendipitously, the very next thing I saw was this quote from Bette Davis. I'm going to read it to you, and I'll put it at the bottom as well. She said, "We may rehearse our lines, our movements, and our expressions, but not until we finally slip into costume does everything come together so that we actually become the character. If we're not comfortable in those clothes, if they don't project the character, the costume designer has failed us." And she said, Edith Head never failed us. Edith Head was the Oscar-winning, multi-Oscar-winning costume designer. Edna from The Incredibles, that was who she was based on. So with that, I got up and changed my costume. I put red on because I am Mars affiliated. I am Aries rising. Red speaks to me, the red earrings. And I also knew that I just couldn't stay clean faced. I wanted my glamour. So I went and put my face on a perfume spritz from my wardrobe of perfumes, where I choose the fragrance of the identity I want to put on. It's part of Glamour Magic, right? The unfolding continued. I somehow ended up on my YouTube channel and discovered that over 2,000 people have found me in the past 28 days. That blew my socks off. My Glamour Magic class has more views than the rest of our channel, and it's growing. Every day it's growing. And this lifted my mood. I went on to the comments and I welcomed new people into my world. I responded to their thoughts. I am deeply appreciative of anyone who takes the time to comment on my work, to share their perspective. This is what we do it for, right? After all. I also remembered, interestingly, that I have a podcast interview this afternoon. It was fascinating to me. That was on my calendar, but the impact of it hadn't sunk in until this moment. The molasses, the gray day, that was just prevalent. And I wouldn't have forgotten. I would have still shown up for my podcast interview, but it took a while for it to sink in. The comments on my YouTube channel and the fact that I am being interviewed for a podcast says that, yes, the molasses might be momentarily, but I am still growing. I have done the work. I have a protocol. I have a methodology. I have a brand. I have a business that my retired husband and I can rely on. These are all the things that my brain was conveniently forgetting because my inner critic, my inner mean girl, had the mic. So this was the revelation this morning. This is Glamour Magic in action. I have been wrestling with imposter syndrome as far as Glamour Magic goes, because I am not your usual glamour witch. I see Deb Castellano as the OG of that. She wrote the book, literally. My Glamour Magic is in eyeliner and red lipstick, statement earrings, and costume. My Glamour Magic isn't rooted in the traditional sense of witchery. It is rooted in the original glamour magic of theater. In the theater, you cast a glamour. The original meaning of the word glamour was to direct the eye. In the theater, you do that all the time. You teach your audience how to see. You wear costume. You say words that are written for the persona you want to embody. And if you embody it deeply enough, they will cry when you die at the end. This is the original glamour magic, and this is my lineage. This is why a costume change, listening to my own scripted words, the red lipstick, the props, everything is rooted in glamour as in theater. And theater can be real life when you seamlessly meld the two. So codifying this gray day protocol for myself and for you is incredibly helpful, because when you're in the molasses, it's really hard to see the staircase out of it. So this is what my Glamour Magic protocol looks like. I hope you'll craft one for yourself. I will do a synopsis video, so you don't have to wade through all this backstory to get it. But it is Glamour Magic in action. It is Glamour Magic in your daily life. And really, that's where it's most potent. Because if you're just going to read and nod, or listen and nod, and then carry on doing what you're doing, you miss out. The magic is there for you, but you have to be first and then do. Without doing, you're not going to have. So I invite you to consider what your grey day protocol might be. Share it with me. I'd love to brainstorm. And if you want a little coven of two, get in touch, because this is my superpower, this is my lineage, and this is where I can really help. I'm Jacqueline Gates. I am a glamourist, and I'm really pleased that you took the time to listen.